Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the XP Live Expose, where it's a chance for you guys to ask any questions about business and property that you have on your chests. We do this every week. We missed last week because of Henley Regatta, and we'll get onto that later. But for those of you that haven't joined us before, we are XP Property, Ben Richards and Jack Jiggins. We've been business owners and property developers for the last 5 years. And we bring to you never before seen insights into the world of property entrepreneurship. We will be covering the following things today. So we're going to be talking about a big announcement, and you're going to be finding out what the PXP is. We're going to be talking about Henley Regatta and some other things about the growth of our business and the team involved in that process. Aura, my architectural practice, has had a number of planning approvals through this week, so we'll be going through some of those. The Old Maltings, which is a project of ours, which is going to be 23 units in Oxfordshire, and we'll be talking about some of the interior design on that. We've got a new team member joining XP Surveys. We did a full sort of day, and Jack did a separate day with the developer club filming some of our projects, so stay tuned for that, and we'll be going into a bit more depth on that later. XP Surveys has been in discussions about sort of mergers and acquisitions with other businesses, which is really exciting, so make sure you stay tuned to that conversation. And then later this month, so on the 13th of July, we will be holding a networking event, and we're going to be talking through what's involved in that. Sunset Court, which is a 6-unit scheme in South Buckinghamshire, is almost finished, and we'll be showing some photos of the progress that we've been making on that. And we're also going to be talking about stamp duty reclaims and some of the affiliate partnerships that we have. So let's moving on to a big announcement. So for those of you that have joined, I'm not sharing screen. Let me share screen. For those of you that have been joining us for the last sort of 6 months since we started doing these back in January, and we've really enjoyed doing them. The feedback we've got is fantastic. I spoke to a mate not too long ago who said, look, I'd listen in, but I'm traveling a lot and I'm in the car. If it was an audio, I would tune in. So what we've decided to do is package up these YouTube videos, strip out the audio, add some podcast jingles and stuff to the front, and launch it on Spotify and Apple and various other platforms. So if you don't have the time to watch these podcast / YouTube videos, we are going to be packaging them up into a podcast audio format and launching them very, very soon on Spotify and the likes. So we'll let you know when that's going to happen. We'll send through links, and we'd love for you to join us over there as well. If you are listening on the future podcast that will be, and don't tune into the sort of video YouTube videos that we're doing, then make sure you subscribe both on Spotify and over at YouTube, so that you can get the video and the audio. Anything you want to say about that, Jack?
Yeah, I'd be keen to get everyone's feedback on mine and Ben's cartoon features. I think it's the first cartoon I've ever seen of myself, so it is quite comical to see.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like we'd love to know your feedback on kind of the branding and whether the title of the show is appropriate, or any feedback is really useful. At this stage, we haven't launched yet, so there's still a chance to change that. So yeah, do get in touch if you've got any feedback. Jack, do you want to cover this one?
Yes. Yeah, of course. So last week, so our head office for XP Property, XP Surveys and Central Suites is in Henley-on-Thames, which is the town that I live in. And once a year, Henley comes alive with 2 parts, which is Henley Regatta, which is rowing races, and then Henley Festival, which is actually tonight and this week. But given the team are not all locals, and some of them are locals, we decided to take our team out for a team day on Friday of regatta. It was a bit like herding cats, but that's what you should expect when 22 in your team go out and enjoy themselves. But it was really good for team bonding and having a good laugh. My highlight was we played a game where the DJs would play the start of a song and you'd have to guess the first lines, put your hand up, go on stage in front of everyone. Unfortunately, I realised how confident our team members are, and I think that might have been either internal confidence or Dutch courage, probably more of the latter. to get up on stage and make a good impression on everyone else that was there. But it was thoroughly enjoyable. And I think fun was had by all. And if anyone hasn't come to Regatta before, definitely comment or say something if you want to check in for next year. I was actually speaking to a bank that we work with, and one of their BDMs wants to come along with us next year. But yeah, it was a fun day for everyone in the team. So the teams collectively come together, which absolutely brings us on to mention a live job role that we have open in our company, which is a marketing manager and office manager based in Henley. I can promise you that if you join us, you can come to Regatta next year. That might not be the only perk as well. But if you know anyone that's looking for marketing management, office management role, please do hit us up. We're happy to speak to any referral of anyone that follows us. We'd much rather hire someone that's from a referral than a complete stranger from a job board, even though we have made those hires. But yeah, it was good fun. Anything else to add, Ben?
No, all good. I stayed sober throughout it all, so got some good laughs out of those that were a little bit more intoxicated than most. So it was a really good day. I can't wait for next year. Good stuff. So next up is some of the good work that my team over at Aura Architecture and Interiors have been doing. We've had 3 very successful planning approvals through in the last week or two, which is super exciting. The one on the screen, you'll notice I've said Aura Celebrity Planning. The main reason for this is that the project in front of you is actually for a sort of a celebrity that is very well known from Made in Chelsea. And there will be more posted on this over the next sort of couple of weeks when we sort of figure out how to best release it out into the ethos of Instagram and the likes. The one on the left, which is a CGI, that was actually something that we submitted initially through the planning process, and we were back and forth for probably 3 months with the urban design officer of the local council, trying to trim back and change to get to a scheme that they were happy with, which is what's shown on the right hand side. So the top image is the existing property, and the image below is where we've ended up. So a big gable fronted sort of center section to the property with a nice portico entrance. What you can't see is the extent of the extension to the rear, which is vast. It's double story to the rear with a large ground floor rear extension. In terms of seeing that, we're going to be posting that very, very soon over on Instagram and various places. So do hit us up for that. The 2 other planning approvals that we got, I really can't wait to show everyone the Park Road project. It's very, very James Bond-esque. There is a basement level. The client owns Aston Martin. The basement level has a car lift down to it, where the car can be sort of shown through a glass pane from their office, which will be at basement level. So the car will drive into the lift, drop down to the basement level, drive forward, and be seen, behind the glazed structure. So yeah, super excited to share that one. And Bury Lane is a project that we've had going for many, many months, whereby it's a 4,000 plus square foot detached property in Hertfordshire. And we're doing various sensitive extensions to that one. So again, I'm looking forward to getting some CGIs created so that you guys can sort of be brought on board with that process and what it's gonna look like. Cool. This is another project of ours that I'm super excited to talk about and run through. If you've been catching up with us over the last 6 months, you'd have seen this one progress through the planning process. We've got 16 units approved under prior approval. We hope in the next month to get planning approval for 20 units, and then we will be going back in for even further enhancements to probably 23 by the time we're finished. Jack, you may not have seen some of these photos. This is a bit of research that we've been doing on the local area. These black and white photos are from back in the sort of 50s and 60s of what the site looked like.
Yeah, I haven't seen these.
You've seen those?
Yeah, I haven't seen these. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a couple more that we've got in the background. So we had a meeting with our interior designer. We want to really kind of pay homage and nod our caps to the history of the site. It's a former malt house, which has a lot of history and some interesting features inside. You can see in that second image, you've got the exposed columns with the the brick vaulted arches, which we're going to be converting. We want to keep those exposed. So the interior design for those undercroft flats will be very, very interesting. I can't wait to see how that one pans out. So we want to kind of create communal areas whereby we've got maybe wallpapered images, black and white wallpapered images of the, previous history of the site. Yeah, we're quite kind of excited to see what the interior designer can come up with on that front. It might be completely different to what I'm thinking, but having some options to move forward will be fantastic. So stay tuned for the interior design of the old maltings. Moving on to XP surveys, growing business. It's a measured building and topographical survey business. We've got a lot of work in the pipeline, and a lot of the architects that we work with are now asking for their surveys to be built out in 3D. So predominantly REVIT via sort of BIM coordination. And that's what we're now offering to people. So, you asked for it, we give it. We've brought someone on board in-house that will produce REVIT models from our 3D laser scan data from site, to provide architects with highly accurate, very fast and reliable measured building surveys. So if you're looking for that, if you're an architect, if you're a developer, if you're an agent, we want to work with you. We've got a good team now. We've got some very, very high-tech equipment that carries out 3D laser scanning, and we can output in 2D, 3D, and then normal sort of PDF outputs that you'd expect. So yeah, do get in touch if you've got a scheme. We'd love to talk to you and provide you with your measured building survey. You want to start on this one, Jack? Oh, I think you muted. Sorry, that might have been me.
Yeah, no, it was me. Dogs were barking in the background. So both Ben and I, and also my brother, are partners of members of the Developers Club, which has been running for just over a year now. It's a property development boardroom where you can join and sharpen your skills, utensils, and rub shoulders with the right people. But I was actually the pilot of a day in the life of one of the board members. So Tino, our favourite videographer, came to spend the day with me, watch me make coffee and walk through the office door, and everyone in the office had to. He said to our staff, "Look really excited to see Jack," and they didn't unfortunately know how to do that. But it was good fun. Tino followed me around for the whole day. We had a little downside when Tino crashed his drone into a tree outside St Helens Mill. But it was a good day overall, and just a day in the life of Jack, I suppose, which was fun.
Good stuff. So I also had a half a day out of the office to film 3 Aura projects, and I'll talk you through those 3. The image on the left is an incredible sort of 4,500 square foot house in Wandsworth. Really excited to see this one come together. In the image, you can see the sort of start of a basement level, which pretty much goes the whole length of the property. There will be a walk-in wine cellar, an au-pair suite with ensuite, plant room, utility space, home office, family entertaining area. It's 6 bedrooms, I think sort of 7 baths. The master suite is insane. The master suite is all across the first floor level. So at the front of the property, you've got a really big bedroom. You've got the second half of the property, which will be the walk-in wardrobe. And then you go to the rear element, which you can actually see in the loft space with the Velux window. That will be the 4-piece bathroom with kind of double walk-in shower, double sink. It will be an absolutely stunning property when it's finished. So stay tuned for that one. We've got a ground floor rear extension, which you see in the middle. This has tons of glazing. The glazing kind of wraps around those corners that are exposed. You can just see in the distance, there will be an Oriel window on this project. So an Oriel window is basically a projecting window. So it forms a window seat. It projects out like a glass box. Yeah, can't wait to see this one being finished. We also went to a very, very standard terrace property in Southwest London when we did a ground floor rear extension and a mansard loft extension to create a master bedroom and ensuite. And some of these projects will be on our YouTube channel, where we will be doing and releasing video tours of those schemes. So head over and look for Aura Architecture on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified when those videos come out. I can't wait to share them with everyone. Cool. Do you want to start this one, Jack? Actually, we had a comment earlier from Joe and Den Fletcher about chipping in on discussion about the housing crisis. Maybe we can cover that afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to kick off. So I'll probably do a bit of an explainer on what an M&A, or also known as merger and acquisition, is. So merger and acquisitions are businesses buying other businesses. The beauty of buying other businesses is it's not just one transaction with one price and then everyone walks in a different direction. You can leverage their expertise, you can leverage their clientele, you can leverage their talent and recruitment that they've already carried out. You can have creative structures to how you buy those businesses, so delaying the payment or having a monthly payment, or even having, quite comically, on a management buyout. If a manager in a company wants to buy the seniority out, they can work within the business, slowly progressing, chipping away at that purchase price. So XP Surveys, which is obviously our surveying company, shout out to XP Surveys, there is a young growing business. We have now 4 surveyors in-house and a business manager that manages the day-to-day. We also have third-party surveyors who we call in, when we need the additional resource, and also some surveys suit their skill sets better than ours. But as a growing company, we have pain points with recruitment, growth, business, sales, operations, and we're always trying to think of ways to improve them. And looking at mergers and acquisitions is a great way to, I suppose, expedite that process, because it takes a long time. We've been running this business for 3 years now. And I was looking at some stats earlier today. We carried out 15 surveys this month. Our turnaround times are really efficient, sort of 4 to 5 days now. And we're looking to grow that, and we will, no matter which way we structure it, whether we get sales or operations in line. It's never perfect balance. So it's speaking to these other business owners, which we've been speaking to. Our observations in this market is there's a lot of there's a lot of one-man bands, so individual surveyors who are technically getting a well-paid job, but they're business owners, sort of the self-employed model. But then there's also a few big players, and once you get that infrastructure cost, it then makes it a lot more difficult for the smaller players to get into that field. So if loads of smaller players club together, you get the economies of scale that you need. This has been something it's been on our agenda for, I think, over a year now, Ben, and we've been having conversations with business owners and the likes of similar sized company to ours. And there's just so many business owners at a similar sort of revenue rate and size that we are. And as soon as you try and make that one jump bigger, it does get more difficult. I don't know if you want to share the specific example, Ben, but that's a bit of an overview.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I mean, I'd be really interested to understand if anyone else is in the same boat who's watching this. So, are you looking at potential acquisitions to kind of grow your companies more? Are you looking at business buying? I know there's a lot of education around it certainly on YouTube at the moment in terms of business buying. But I think it's a great way of achieving that growth faster, tacking on additional businesses that have infrastructure, resource, to help you grow to the stages that you want. Jack's done a good job of discussing that, really. The conversations that we've had may not land an acquisition or a merger, but off the back of the conversations, we're building our relationships in the industry. We're creating additional resource for us to use as and when the time comes. So, even if a merger or acquisition doesn't come off, there's a team there that we can use if, for example, the capacity with our in-house team is at 100% and we need to go and outsource other surveys to our network. So, even if it's not a success in terms of the merger or acquisition, there's definitely opportunity for some form of business collaboration with those people. So, do not discount that if you want to grow faster. Which leads us on to a networking event that we're doing, talking about business growth. We've done a lot over the last couple of months to outreach to our local architects. Our surveys are fast, accurate, reliable. Architects are our ideal client. When you're looking at a business, you really want to be putting a list together of kind of your avatar clients, i.e. who are the most ideal client for you. And that's architects for us. If we get an architect on our book that uses us for 2 or 3 surveys every month, that's a great bit of repeat business. So the lifetime client value, which as a business owner you should be thinking about, the lifetime client value for architects for us is massive. We could be talking 50, 60, 70, 80 grand, even more if they're with us for a couple of years. So it's worth spending the time to acquire those potential clients, keep them happy, keep delivering schemes to them quickly, efficiently and accurately. So we're holding our first networking event. So next Thursday, the 13th of July, between 4 and 6 p.m. in Henley-on-Thames. If you're in the area, do come and join us. At the moment, we've got about 20 people on the list. James Pritchett of Green Core Construction will be talking about climate positive homes. They've created a fantastic development in Oxfordshire, which has won various awards of 20 sort of net carbon homes, and he's going to be talking about the products that they've used to do that, the techniques and the systems and processes that they've used on site to deliver that net zero carbon development. And I'm going to be giving a very brief talk on some of the services that we have on offer outside of just the scan to CAD and the measured building and topographical surveys, which is predominantly 360 virtual tours. You see them used a lot with estate agents, and we highly recommend them for all of our architects and our clients. We use them in Aura. They are a fantastic tool. We use Matterport technology to capture 360 point cloud data that can be used to sort of walk around the house as if you're there. So that's definitely something that we're trying to get across to architects, to give them a lot more insight for both them, their shareholders, their engineers, their clients, so that they don't have to visit site as much, because they've got all the information they might need from the comfort of their own armchair. So if you're in the area, or you want to come and join us on Thursday, the 13th of July next week, do comment below and we can send you further details off the back of that.
In addition to that, we are also hosting our quarterly hot property event, which is an informal, no speakers, relaxed networking event immediately after at 6:30 at our offices. So if you don't want to make the trip just for a 2-hour event, you can double up the 2 events. The XP Surveys event is obviously much more led around design, where builds are going to be passive houses, and having 2 speakers, whereas we also have a less formal event that's more relaxed and more drinking after that.
Excellent. Good stuff. So number 9 is Sunset Court. You will have seen this numerous times if you've been following us. We had planning approval through to create these recessed balconies in the center of the screen and install Velux windows to the loft space to enhance the value of this scheme. It only took 9 months, but we've got it now. The works have started. By Wednesday next week, 99% of the work will be created. I really can't wait to see that come together. We've got 3 of the 6 units under offer at above asking price, which is absolutely fantastic. We have somebody wanting to buy the other house on a part exchange basis. Really interesting. Would love to know if anyone's done that before down in the comments. Not something I've heard of in property, obviously very common in buying cars. But yeah, not really come across that in the housing industry. So yeah, let us know if that's something you've done before. What should we be looking out for? Because it's all very, very, very new.
I've seen it with large developers that move. They like, if it's like an elderly person moving into a bungalow, they quite frequently do a part exchange. But it's just quite interesting for the SME developer, where we're not a national home builder and our balance sheet is not quite what theirs are at. So just firing a few properties in our company is a bit of a different story. But interesting. Comment part exchange if you heard of this before, and get the conversation going on the thread so that we can chat about that further.
Yeah, I've never really seen it with the housing market. So would love to know more. Yeah, stay tuned for finished photos in the next couple of weeks. We'll be sort of relaunching those upper floor flats. We've got 2 3-beds on the market, one selling for just shy of £500,000, which is a split level duplex suite, and then we have the other 3-bed flat, which I think is now at £450,000 or £425,000, one or the other. If you live in Princess Risborough or nearby, do get in touch if you're interested in discussing those. Cool.
Last but not least, so the team had a call. When I say team, me, Tom, and Aaron had a call with stamp duty reclaim company specialists, and this is the second company that we've worked with for stamp duty reclaims. What is a stamp duty reclaim? Is basically where we, as developers or investors that are buying stock, from time to time, and we might not be clued up on potential savings that might be applicable on some of the houses that you're buying, and that might be contractual benefits. So if, for an example, and I'm not a tax specialist, but this is an example with my layman knowledge, so seek advice. But if you are purchasing a property off someone in the military that's relocating for work, there can be some benefits. If the property is not in a state of repair for in livable condition, it could be some reclaim benefits. So the way that this works for us is we put the property, the acquisition price, the condition of the property, the situation of the property, and the stamp duty that we paid over to a specialist, let them do all the advisory and all the work that they need to. They do it on a no-win, no-fee basis, and they get paid on success of that fee saving. So let's assume they save you 50% of the SDLT that you have paid. So let's round things up and say that you paid a 10 grand stamp duty on a little house that you bought. They saved you £5,000. They can take anywhere between 20 and 30% of that fee. So between 1,000 and 1,800, subject to the situation, the fee, and also the rates that you agree with them. But this sort of leads me on to the affiliates that XP Property are constantly building. Our team are always not only trying to increase margins and revenue, but we're also trying to increase cost savings. And that can be anything like accountancy fees, obviously our surveying company, affiliated quantity surveying companies, capital allowances advisories, insurance brokers. And we have gone out there for anyone listening and made those relationships, tried and tested them, and made sure that they are good at what they do and we're getting the right savings. So if anyone out there needs an introduction for any type of contact saving consultant, comment below consultant and what sort of area you would like to be redirected in. And we're more than happy to share that, because there are some good ones and there are some bad ones. But we've been fortunate enough to have enough, when we're buying a property every 4 weeks, we have enough volume to really test people and to really test the consultants around. So we tend to get preferred rates if we make a recommendation for you. So please do reach out if there's anything from an affiliate perspective that we can help with.
Nice. Do you want to have a quick chat for a minute or so on the housing crisis?
Yeah, let's do. I've got time for a minute.
Sweet. What are your thoughts?
So I mean, the housing. Yeah, so the housing crisis isn't new. The housing crisis has been around forever. And actually, I was speaking to a really smart investment banker the other day, who was telling me that the UK is behind in the housing supply by the hundreds of thousands, and Africa is behind in the housing supply by 1,000 times our deficit. And I just found it a really interesting stat that obviously we're in our own bubble going, oh, the council want more houses, which I don't believe, because they're terrible at planning. But the council want more houses, and then you hear a stat about another country that probably isn't as robustly moving their infrastructure in the way of planning and the way things go, like I think it was Nigeria, and it's 1,000 times behind the ratio of housing allowance that we're hitting. So I think the housing crisis is always going to be there. One thing that I have learned recently, which I think is actually appalling, is Ben and I have been building a social portfolio for the last 3 years, and we've really enjoyed having a product in that segment of the market. And our rents for our social portfolio, we get paid local housing allowance, not a penny more, not a penny less. So the charities that we work with, they obviously have to sort out their own infrastructure, but we don't make a margin off them. We provide the product that they can't get their hands on, and our rent roll that gets paid to us as a landlord is the local housing allowance. Now, my bugbear of this is inflation is apparently, reaching records for the last few years that we've ever seen, but the local housing allowance has not gone up. I know that that could be seen as greedy because we are the landlords that get paid that rent. But what's going to happen is the delayed gratification of that is private landlords will release their properties to private tenants because they're paying more, because rents are going up, inflation's going up, the wage gaps obviously having to keep up with that core inflation. So what's frustrating is seeing that the local housing allowance not keeping in line with market rents, because what is going to happen, and I know that we're a drop in the ocean as far as our portfolio goes, and this isn't really a bugbear for our commercial benefit, but more of a bugbear that if you want to solve social housing, homeless, vulnerable people, and you're not willing to raise the LHA rate in line with market rate, why would a landlord give their property to you if it's not keeping up with the moving market? So that was one recent observation that I made, and maybe is the reason that governments are not keeping up with people. We're technically being left behind as landlords with our existing tenants, which is fine because that was our sole purpose and the goal for this portfolio. But if they're not keeping up with market rents, why would someone new move into that market that might want to do something similar? So yeah, a little bit of a rant now, I suppose, but
nice.
Yeah. Should we move on to planning? I could rant on planning.
I was going to say, yeah, my similar rant is on the planning process, and I think that is a huge collar around developers' necks from a delivery perspective. We're not delivering half the amount of houses that we need. There's so much red tape and delays around the planning process. I'd love to know what other people think, but I think a very quick and easy win would be to increase the application fees associated with planning applications. At the moment, every single planning office that we work with is under-resourced, understaffed. And I can understand why. When we're paying 206 quid for a householder application, not a lot of time and effort can go into £206 worth of fees. So I actually, as a developer, I would prefer to pay more in application fees to get a decent service, whereby we're actually seeing a decision date on the date that they're supposed to be delivering. It seems like a very simple solution.
Yeah, I completely agree on cost. Do you know what I think would be the easiest solution is householder applications? So if it's your primary residence, or you're doing an extension, or even building a new house for yourself, that could go through the local authorities, because you tend to be less commercially focused in that manner. And then, like we do with viability assessments, the council actually tender it out to a surveying company or an external company that then provide 3 different tenders. We get to pick who we go with, and that private company who care about their service, they need to be priced competitively because they're obviously privately run, need to be within the right space to be putting forward the right price and so on and so forth. So I think if it's over 2 units or 2 units or more, the council should be leaning on other private businesses, because if you think about the amount of planning consultants that could really help with these applications, and in reality it would be an immediately quick fix, because they don't have to then re-recruit to hire the rates. Yes, great, you can hire the costs, but then there will be a delay in hiring the right people, and it's not that attractive to work for public sector for some people as it is private. So I think that there is a solution, and Ben's heard me say this twice in the last 2 days, but a fellow developer that I know that operates in Ireland has had significantly large applications, sort of 20 plus, 40 plus unit sites, consented within 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks, how are they maintaining that speed if we can't? I think there's something to be learned there.
unbelievable system. I mean, I'd love for that to come over to the UK, but I don't think it will. Anyway,
I've got one more rant.
Go.
So our HMO products, which is letting a whole room inclusive of bills, tends to work out an average of £850 a bed. If you were to compare that for a 25-year-old post-grad young professional renting a one-bedroom flat, their rent would be in Henley, for an example, would be £1,500 a month plus council tax plus bills. So they're paying about £2,000 per month in rent. We as a business, we actually enterprise and commercially make properties work where we obviously do a co-living product where they're getting a nicer property than the one bed flat than they do for less money. So the win-win here for us is we obviously capitalize on profiteering by splitting up the property into a HMO or co-living product for a room rate, which is normally about £850 is the average across our portfolio. And that is a really competitive way that we've provided a solution to a problem. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's loads of people listening to this. We're now finding that there's a lot of councils that are now banding and taxing landlords to actually limit us doing this. And it's completely the wrong way to go about it, because you're taxing the person that's providing the solution for affordable housing in the market rather than actually supporting it. And it's going to make our lives more difficult, and then make it more difficult for the tenant, because in our contract we put council tax liability if it gets banded on the tenant. So it's not really a problem for us as landlords, but we think it's debunking that product and also making it more difficult for people to save up and to get onto the property ladder. The average age in the UK for someone to buy their first property is 37 years old, and we believe that our houses help people get there sooner than 37. And we're really passionate about that, providing a win-win solution for us, our tenants, and the council/public, which should be their priority, but it's not. So council tax banning with HMOs, I'm sure there'll be hundreds of comments because it's a very topical topic.
Very good. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
We can get used to this ranting.
we should throw in a rant every week, I think. But yeah, if you've got any questions, do drop them in the comments below. We are here every Friday at 5 p.m. This will go onto our platforms on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We are also converting the audio to audio podcast, and that will be launched in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. But thanks to everyone that's been joining, and see you next week.